Hey folks, it's Mark here. Welcome back to SIKE. In this example, we're going to take a look at something that is a new feature. It's called AI Teams. And so we're going to go into our nodules area. In this case, let's go to the AusDefi and DSAI podcasts. That's Data Science and AI Australia. So we've got the cross promotion podcast there where we cover off on blockchain and AI. If we go into the Teams section here, we've got an area where we can provide a description that is a brief description or maybe even detailed, but basically the magic button is going to allow us to break that down, or it's going to use the AI to break that down. So just zoomed out here so we can actually see things a little bit better. Now, what we've got here is that in this particular area, this knowledge module, in the data section, we've got 3 different podcasts from episode 38, 37, 36. It's the transcripts of those podcasts. Now, we could put together the prompts ourselves in terms of what's going on here. We could just go further down and add this, but what we'll do is I'll just show you that we'll get it to write a LinkedIn post about, in this case, one of the AusDefi podcasts. We're not going to specify which one because we want to make this a bit of a template. I want to get it to talk about, in this case, key themes. So that's really important for this. If you wanted to, you can actually add prompts yourself. You don't have to use the magic section, but if you wanted to see what it breaks down as, we'll click the magic button now and you can see this thing start to run. So it's important to have the options there. In this case, we're using the power of GPT to create, or basically break down, that initial prompt into these various sub-prompts. So the initial one was going to research the AusDefi podcast that it's given. We've seen the second one there. The third sub-prompt is being created. The fourth is elaborating on key themes, and it will generate each of these. They're going to be assigned to different workers as well, and we'll just now speed up to get to that next section. Okay, so now the work is done, and as we scroll down here, we can see the different workers, starting with James, who's going to research the AusDefi podcast. James has this set of instructions in terms of what they're going to do. They can also have a particular nodule that will get them to look at. If we don't set anything, what ends up happening is that it looks to GPT-4 because it's got access to that GPT-4 Turbo, just general model, or it might refer to one of the previous prompts that are created. In this case, James is the first one, so they're not going to be able to do that, but we will see that later. You can change the instructions if you want to as well. The temperature here, this is something where you can set the creativity at 0. It's very matter of fact. 1 is very creative and 0.5 would obviously be in the middle, so you can play around with that. We click on the nodules, we can add a room that we want this to get documents from. Even though we're in the AusDefi podcasts area, we can actually go get data from different rooms as well. So we'll go to the AusDefi podcasts particular room nodule, and we'll pick, in this case, let's go with Kirsty's one. So episode 36. And so that one is going to look at that particular document. It's going to run the RAG model, and that's retrieval augmented generation. And this one that we're going to be getting it to look at the previous block of work that's done. It's referring to the research AusDefi podcast details, which was up in the block above. So Mary, in this case, is referring to the work being done by James. And as we scroll further down, you'll see that other workers, they'll either refer to previous work, or you can set them up to do something else. They might need to refer to one of the documents, so you can add that nodule. Additionally, at the end of all of this, you can get the workers to even add another prompt, which is, instead of just piecing it all together, there could be a compliance checker or a reviewer or editor that gives feedback to the final work that's done. And by pulling all of that together, you would be able to get not just feedback, but you can feed that feedback into and create another prompt that rewrites it based on that feedback that the machine is giving itself. So being able to piece these building blocks together is quite unique. Now we've completed the review, we can go ahead and run the flow. And what you're going to see here is, in a few seconds, the piece of work that is done by the initial worker. In this case it was James. That will start to be actioned, and you'll see that come to life in these blocks. And each of these work blocks, these are able to be saved. You can actually copy and paste these into things that you might need it to go into. You might need to show the working, or you could just go ahead and go to the final prompt. So as this is work that is being done over the course of a few minutes, we'll speed things up now. Okay, we can see all of the work has been done, and it's produced the final output, which is assembling the complete LinkedIn post. That was Jennifer that's done that. We can close each of these blocks as we go back up the page and see each of the pieces of work that was done, from assembling the final piece to creating the calls to action and elaborating on the initial key themes that were put together there, and even the drafts. So what's really cool is that you can see each of the work done by the workers. You can see the time it took, the cost for that, where the workers had to look at things like just normal GPT, then you're going to be able to see that that typically costs less. Where it looks at the RAG model, so the retrieval augmented generation, then it's going to be taking extra steps to look inside your documents and retrieve the specific areas that are relevant to the query. So all of that work is now able to be seen here. You can see the total token spend. In this case it was 31 cents, and it's nice and visible for you to do other work with, so you don't just get the final prompt, but you can do other stuff with this as well. Now another thing you might want to do is save this. In this case we'll give it a name, because you can reuse this as a template. So this will be our podcast review template. I need to give it a description. I'll just put test in here for now, and when I hit save, that's now available as something you can go back to. And when you do go back to something that is saved, you might want to change it in terms of what document it's being looking at. We'll keep it here, in this case in the AusDeFi podcasts. If you had documents in another room, you might have rooms of different transcripts. You can go to something else, but in this case we'll just change it to episode 37. And if we were happy with the rest of the building blocks of instructions and workers and what they're doing, then you can again just run this one nice and easy. If you were interested in the podcast where this came from, as I said, these are all the transcripts from podcasts. We're doing it for the meetups as well that we help to run at the AusDeFi Association. So you can see SIKE in action, helping make things like this much more interactive. So it's not just watching, but you can actually talk to the transcripts, get further background, see more information about what these shows were about, and it's really there to help enhance these different workflows. So whether it's transcripts, it's operations, it's marketing, it's research analysis, anything that you're doing that could be described in a systematic way, and you want to use the power of GPT, this is definitely a tool that you should check out. So let's get in touch. Let's talk about things that you're working on. Let's see how we can help you unlock more human capital. Cheers.